Hi guys, so I've been wanting to do this for a long time and I can finally do it. It is a getting started in Ark. I'm sure other people have done it, but maybe I'll be able to help you out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a local single player. Now I'm going to set a difficulty level to 1.0. Now I don't think we can do the override on this. The difficulty level is a scale of 0 to 1, so I'm going to set it on the highest difficulty. Now you see here I've got the XP multiplier at 3 and the taming speed at 3. If you go on most servers you'll find that the XP multiplier is higher, and the taming speed is higher. Sometimes they'll have harvest amounts higher and things like that, but yeah, don't mess around with that personally. The other thing as well that you would probably find on those servers is that you would have a higher baby incubation period, or a quicker incubation period. So I'm going to be starting on basically just the Ark, which used to get called the Island. Now there are other mods and maps and workshop items. As you can see, I've got a few things installed on there. So I'm going to go ahead and click play single player. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create my survivor. Now what you can actually see here is that, yeah, I started recording this video and I had a glitch going on which was not good. So when you create your survivor, obviously you can mess around with all this, you give yourself a name, you get to choose your spawn region. Now, you definitely don't want to spawn in the north if it's your first time playing the game, you don't want to spawn in the north. That is very, very cold, and Ark has a heat and cold system which will cause you to die if you don't keep yourself warm or cool enough. The north is not good for that. It's also one of the most dangerous areas. The west is relatively safe, but it also creeps into areas where you get some nasty stuff coming at you. The east, ironically, is in a good temperate place, but you'll either be spawning near mountains, which are dangerous, near swamps, which are very dangerous. You could be spawning further north and near the snow, which is dangerous. So, yeah, you don't want to be doing that. The south is probably the safest place for you to start. And I would say start with south too, because as you can see, that's where I started last time. And it's a really good place to start off. It's quite safe. You don't really have that much that's going to come and kill you. And you've got some ways to very easily get yourself out of situations like that. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and create this new survivor. Now your priorities when it comes to your new survivor is you just want to make sure you can stay alive, so that's water and food. Now water can be dealt with, water can be dealt with by literally just walking over to the water and pressing E. So E is your main sort of interaction button. Now your left mouse button will also be the main thing that you harvest with. So when we start off, let's have a look where I am. I am quite far over, I think, actually. Yes. So I've actually started quite far away from where I wanted to start. Now, your first thing you're going to want to make is you're going to have the ability to make yourself a pick. So let me just show you how to do it. So you punch a tree, and it's almost Minecraft-esque. Punch a tree. You want to get yourself some thatch and some wood from punching that tree. Now, you may not get it on the first attempt. While I'm doing that, I'll open this up. So every time you level up in this game, you get a point to spend in one of your stats. Now, I would say the first point you actually want to spend it in is weight. And when you do that, you get the ability to spend engram points. Now, you're going to want all of the engrams here. You're going to want a stone hatchet, stone spear. Oh, I don't think I've got enough to spend that. And you want a campfire. So let me just try and get a log out of this. There we go. Right. Okay. So I now have the ability to craft myself a pickaxe. Or pick. Now the basic tools that you're going to be using, wow, that was smooth of me, wasn't it? Okay, so the basic tools that you're going to be using are a pick and a hatchet. They will get you different things from resources. So for example, using a pick on stone will get you generally more flint than it will stone. You'll also notice that when you harvest, you get yourself experience. And like I said, if you go on to any unofficial server, you'll probably find the experience is high. You don't want to go for an experience gain of 1, because that's just a torture server right there. So, by making the pick, you are now able to make yourself a hatchet. Now, the hatchet will get you from trees more wood than thatch. A pick will get you more thatch than wood. A hatchet will get you more stone from rocks than it will flint. So that's quite useful. Here we go. Now, you're going to want the spear as well. That's going to be your first weapon you're going to use. And then your water skin, if you've started where I am, you don't really need to worry about that. You want to start getting yourself some cloth pants and gloves and shoes and stuff. Can I get anything else in that? Okay. Now, the cloth is done by harvesting plants. As you harvest plants, if you can actually not be a noob like me and actually harvest a fucking thing. Should be able to see it when I do. There you go. You start getting fibre. Now, plants are probably going to be your main source of food when you very first start off. Now, there's 6 berries that you can potentially get from plants. You can get narco berries, majo berries, and stim berries. You don't want to be touching those. The stim berries will not increase your food. It will actually decrease it, but it will give you back stamina. Narco berries, they'll knock you out. Majo berries are what you're going to use to tame herbivores, so you're going to want to keep hold of them. Now, while I'm doing this, I'll point out some of the stats. You see on the right hand side, bottom right hand side of my screen, there's a little arrow with a plus in the middle. That's your experience. As that gets to the max, as you see there, you've gained a level. The symbol below that looks like a weight. That is how much weight you're currently carrying. The 2 below that are your water and your food, quite self-explanatory. Now, the way the food interacts is that as you lose stamina or health, so what I'm just going to run around a bit here. So there's my stamina dropping. As my stamina regains, I will lose food. I don't know if you can quite see it. You can't really see it. But basically, your food will be used to regen your stamina. And it's the same with your health. As you regen health, you will lose stamina. Now, your first points you're going to want to put into weight, because otherwise you're not going to have dinosaurs to carry stuff around for you. Now, you're going to want a sleeping bag here. You're going to want your clothes. You're probably going to want a thatch foundation, which I just about have enough points for. So, the reason I say start at the south too is that there's actually a fair few things here that you can use to get yourself started in the game very well. Now, I'm just collecting the resources here to build myself a spear, but I want to build myself multiple spears. Spears are quite cool in the fact that you can use them to both throw and you can use them as a melee weapon as well. The unfortunate thing is they are prone to break it, and obviously if you throw a spear away, you don't have that spear anymore. So what I'll do is go into my inventory and let's go to crafting. What have we got here? So I need wood, flint and fibre, so I've got enough to make a fair few spears there. Pressing E will craft one of something. Pressing A will craft everything you can craft on that. Oh, son of a bitch. You bastard. Get the fuck you wee shite. Right, okay, so now these are one of the dangerous little shits. Where is he? Where is he? Is he run? Okay. Now, they don't actually try and kill you. What they do is they mug you. I just got mugged. Arseholes. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep collecting myself some resources so I make my way round to where I want to be. Wood, flint and need fibre as well. So I'm also going to start. So as you can see here, it's kind of stand on any game is you want to get yourself some basic tools, start getting yourself some armor, get yourself food. Now, but the major component in this game, like literally the thing that is going to make a difference between everything else, is taming creatures. And the reason I said go over here is because there's some ways to tame some fairly good creatures fairly early in the game. So there we go here. Right, so once I get my weight to 150, I will work on other things. Now, there is a stat in there I wanted to point out. So most of the stats here are self-explanatory. Health, stamina, oxygen. Oxygen, obviously, if you run to the water. Food and water means you can have more of a reserve of them. Weight, obviously. Melee damage, obvious. Movement speed, obvious. Crafting speed. And then you've got fortitude. Fortitude is very important when you start going to other areas, especially when you start going up north. Fortitude will... You have... Okay. As you can see up here, you have a temperature, and then you have a hypothermal insulation and a hypothermal. I think I just said hypothermal twice. Hypothermal and hyperthermal insulation. Any bit of clothing you have will basically, it will give you insulation against the heat and insulation against the cold. Fortitude gives you more of a buffer. Basically, you'll be able to withstand more extreme temperatures. And that's, yeah, and it has other effects as well, but that's the main one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into crafting. I'm going to build myself another spear. 4 will do me fine. And now I'm going to go into armour. Come on, you bastards. Right, there we go. Let's see what I can craft. I need a lot more fibre to do that. So, let's keep moving around here. Now, if you did start where I started when you started on South 2, what you're looking for is this area here that is really rocky. You're going to skirt around the outside of that to get to where we want to go. So, okay, I can't seem to collect from that. Now, you see on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, that's one of the symbols that shows that I'm starting to get cold. Now, what you can do with this is you can craft yourself a torch, which is primarily used for light, but also, obviously, it's fire, it keeps you warm. There we go. That's interesting. It's an explorer note. Woohoo! Now you actually get experience for these explorer notes, and if you find these explorer notes, you can also get an experience buff. As you see, I've got that pointing up arrow. So as I go and harvest stuff, I will actually be getting a lot more experience. Now you do actually get experience as well for crafting items. So let's grab ourselves some stuff. So if I now click on this, I should have, as you can see, I've got 7 points available, which means I've leveled up quite a bit. So I'm going to increase my melee damage to 110, my movement speed to 110, I think. Well, I'm going to try and get it to 110. Right, now I have a lot of engram points to spend, so I'm going to want to get all of that. I want to get my thatch structures done. A lot of these you need to have to be able to do the latter ones. Now the next thing I'm going to want is slingshot. That is your first taming weapon. The way the slingshot works is you just, any stones in your inventory, you use it, you shoot something with it, and that will do a topor. Now topor is kind of like the knockout value. Once you get topor to a certain point, the creature or yourself or the player will get knocked out, and for most creatures on this, you tame them by knocking them out. I'm also going to want a simple bed. Beds are where you respawn. A wooden club. Now a club also helps you to do topor and things. So if it's something you feel safe enough to get in close and smack it, or if it gets stuck on a tree, you can do that. Bowlers are also another thing you want to get, because they can be used to drop flying creatures. Well, some flying creatures. Now you're also going to want a bow and arrow. Do I have enough points? No, I don't. Okay. Now a lot of these things would also use hide to produce. So you're going to have to kill creatures, obviously, to get the hide. Let's see if I can go and find some dodos to kill. Would help if I could actually make it through some trees. Now you don't want to make too many of these spears to start off with, because they are quite heavy. Now if you want water, you just run into the water and press E, like that. And I'm going to use some of those berries that I collected. Don't want to use nature, so just put some of them on that bar. Now I probably shouldn't be running around as much as I am, because I'm used to having good food on my bar. Berries don't really give you that, and when you run, obviously you use stamina, and that results in you losing food. So I'll just increase my food that way. Now I am kind of pilfering away my XP bonus that I have at the moment, but that's because I'm not around an area with a lot of berries for me to collect, so I don't really want to use up my stamina. And you can quite easily die by not having enough food. Right, so I have made my way all the way around this bit here, and we are getting to the area that I want to be in to show you how to do some of these techniques to get started. Techniques? Methods, that's what I meant. Right, so if you start at South 2, that what you see, that stone formation, that is a great place to be, because what you can actually do is you can jump up on the rocks, dinos can't get to you, and you can tame them. It's also a relatively safe area. You will sometimes get raptors going along the shoreline. Sometimes you will get other carnos coming in. Hey, dodo, just kill it. Now, there's a weird thing with dodos, is that actually hitting them in the head doesn't always kill them. So there we go. Now we will use this to harvest. We've got some hide, woo, and some raw meat. That's cool. As with everything in Ark, it is dangerous to go across the water. It's dangerous to pretty much go anywhere in Ark. So let's just have a little look. There are usually piranhas in the water. So let's just take a running jump and hope to make it. Come on, come on, come on. If you run out of stamina in the water, you're also kind of screwed. So try to go across at the shortest distance that you can. Right. Okay, so we are now in a relatively safe area. I'm going to go and collect myself a load of berries here. Get my food back up. I also, as you see, I can now start working on making myself some armour. I think I've already said this, but as I said earlier, it really is that case of just progressing up the basic things to set up your base to be able to do the more dangerous stuff. Now, I've had a fairly good start here, apart from getting mugged. Bastards. You may find yourself in a situation where it is dangerous, where you start off and you may get yourself killed. Don't be discouraged. That is all part of Ark. Dying a lot does happen. So what I'm going to do here is I've got quite a lot of fibre. I'm going to just get my run speed up a little bit higher. There we go. And I'm going to craft a wooden club. I'm going to craft myself a slingshot. And see, as I have some hide, I'll make myself a boulder as well. Right. Don't think I have enough. Oh, you son of a bitch. Got me out of the blue. Right, okay, so these things are nasty little shits. As you can see, get away. Oh, level 100. You arsehole. Right, so this does happen, as you can see. This is part of the game. So make sure you've got South 2 selected there, and I think I've actually spawned exactly where I started before. Fan-fucking-tastic. Right, let's get across this water and hope there's no things here. Now, the reason that I am dying so much is because I do have that difficulty up. That's just the way it works. Now, I actually see that fucker over there that killed me the first time. So, let's see if we can play this smart. I say we. See if I can play this smart. No, if it's just me, we're fucked. You notice how I said we're fucked? Right, there's that dino. Let's run around the corner so he doesn't see me. Let's see if my... I hear you, you arsehole. Fuck off. Right, okay. Sweet, got all my stuff. Right, let's bring that back. Woohoo! Get to fuck! Get to fuck! Little cunt. Come here. Come here. Gotcha. made myself a slingshot, and I should have some stones in my inventory. Apparently not. Okay, time to make myself some stones. I'm going to try and tame that dilo and give a demonstration of why this area is quite good. So let's grab myself these stones. I'm sorry, Mr. Pteranodon. I don't mean to hurt you. So I just spent the evening waffling. I made myself a campfire, and I'm going to crack at taking this guy out, as you can see, with the bowler. And yeah, I should just be able to wail on him like this and take him out. I don't know if I'm going to have enough. I'm going to knock him out. Come on, come on. Come on! Damn it. Oh, don't run into the water, you little turd. Oh, I think I've got enough stuff to make another boulder. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Right. I'm going to chase after this guy and wait for him to come back on land. And yeah, dinos are actually fairly good little pets to get at the start of the game. They're pretty good at hunting. They also have an ability that slows down other creatures, so it's really good for hunting things like parasaurs. Come on, come on, back on land, back on land. On the rock will do. You know it's going to turn around and come straight back, right? Come on. Ha! There we go. Back on land, back on the land, back on the land. Aha! Right, now I've got this bastard. Drop, drop, drop. There we go. Right, okay, so I decided not to go after the trike. I decided to try and tame this bastard instead. When it comes to try and taming the trikes, is they can be somewhat hard to take down with methods like that. A lot of other stuff you can use the slingshot to drop things. You can do it with a trike, but it's just going to be a case of you might as well wait until you have better stuff. And I thought this would be a better demonstration. So this was a level 76 dilo. And what I've done is I've dropped it down. I've used the boulder on it. It ran into the water. I chased it back out of the water. What you need to do is when you have something taming like this is you have to have something to keep bringing its torpor up or torpidity up. So I'm using narco berries here. So what narco berries and narcotics will do, and biotoxin as well, what they do is they will raise the torpidity a certain amount over a certain amount of time. So there is a kind of a playoff between narcotics and narco berries. Narcotics weigh a lot less and they do a lot more. But if you carry the same amount of narco berries that you used to make the narcotics, they will last for longer. I don't know if that makes sense. But as you see here, so I just held E on that, use a stack, or use a bit of the stack. And as you can see, the torpor has gone up. I used about 10 there. So we should see the torpor go up. I think these... Oh, I think it's a small amount that they actually take it up each one. Can't remember off the top of my head, having a right brain fart because it's early in the morning. So now the other thing you need to put in there is food for it to eat. Now most things, these would actually, you get two types of meat. You get meat and prime meat. So you'll have normal like land animals. You'd have raw meat and raw prime meat, and then you'll have raw fish meat and raw prime fish meat. Those are the basic things that carnivores would like. Now, but you can also make something called kibble. Now, that's a lot more complicated, a bit further down the line. When it comes to herbivores, it's Majo berries, basically. Just give them Majo berries, unless you're giving them kibble. The way kibble's made is you need to have a farm of animals, you need to have a certain amount of eggs, and then you cook the eggs with certain things, and it makes kibble, and those are the perfect one. But each dino needs a different type of kibble, etc, etc. Now, dinos are actually really good for getting started on the kibble line. So it's quite often, it's like, for example, the female dino will give me the kibble, but if I get the eggs from her, they'll give me the kibble to make something else, which will allow me, that will give me the kibble to make something else. So it is kind of like a tree of life almost, or a food chain. So I just threw in there, what I think it was 13 meat and these, and you see, so if I just do this here, if I use one, it's at 345. As you see, that raised it 6. Now, really, when it comes to the topor, I mean, I've had more than enough topor in there to, I could have just left it to go. As their food drops a certain amount, their food drops to 50, they'll eat the meat. So you see, when it gets to 50, it'll eat another bit of meat. There you go. And every time it eats a bit of meat, you gain a bit of taming percentage. You also lose effectiveness. So the more times they have to eat, the less effective a tame will be. So what you want to make sure you do is you want to use the best food you can, which is usually raw prime. That's the thing. That's the best thing you'll be able to get early in the game. Once you get to kibble, you know, whatever how much more they like that food will determine how much more taming percentage you get, which means the less amount of times it has to chomp, and ergo the less taming percentage you lose. I'm going to call this one little shit, because that's exactly what she was. Right, okay. Now this is actually a fairly good hunting dino to start off with. There's a couple of things you need to understand about dinos. Is they have an aggression level, or a stance, so to speak. So if it's attack your target, obviously everything you attack, they'll attack. Neutral means that if something attacks you, or you're being hit by something, they'll help. Passive, they won't. You also get aggressive. Now I prefer to have them on neutral, unless I turn to attack something. Right, so let's go and use little shit to kill shit. See what I did there? Little shit, kill shit. Okay. Now you can obviously have them to follow, or you can have them to stop moving. So this one is currently on follow. Now you can use whistles. Whistles are use key commands to do it. So for example, I press Y there. Y is the stop command. T is to follow. And you also have universal commands. So U will stop everything. J will call everything. And then you can actually change their stance as well. So I usually cycle between, if I press the semicolon, she goes to passive. I press the minus key, which is next to the 0 key on the keyboard, not the minus key on the number pad. That goes to neutral. And then I can actually tell them to move somewhere with the comma button, and the full stop button will make them attack something. So I'm going to set them to follow me. Now if you don't know what the whistles are, what you can do is you can look in that area there. Right, okay. So now really I should be building a shelter here, but the whole idea of this was to show you how you can get started and get your basic stuff sorted out. You know, there's really very little point building a shelter out of thatch and even wood, because dinos can knock it down. The biggest thing you need to do is build yourself a bed. Until you can build a bed, there's no point building a shelter. That may sound silly, but it's the case, because you'll just, if you aggro something, it will kill you through there anyway. If you're in a place where you can get safe, like by jumping up on that rock, that's probably going to do you better. The only reason I died here before was because I was tired and wasn't watching what's going on. Yeah, and I should have been using my axe to kill stuff. Right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to use little shit to kill stuff and then work on a base.